Just a little housekeeping stuff. We found that, I think this is maybe the 10th webinar or so that I've done. We found that if we hold off on questions until the end, that just keeps the flow going a little bit better. So I'm going to ask you all if you wouldn't mind holding off on questions. All you need to do is just raise your hand at the end, and I can click on your hand, excuse me, and you can ask your question and have all the other participants hear you. So, and if you don't feel comfortable doing that, by the way, just jump on the chat. The chat's a little bottom at the bottom right. Already Maria has said buenas tardes, and I responded with an hola back to her. If you don't feel comfortable talking with everyone, just jump on the chat, and I'd be more than happy to answer your question. Again, a few other people are coming in. As I said, if you wouldn't mind holding off on your questions until the end. I always say I'm so humbled by the amount of people that sign up for the webinars. And again, we have a wonderful turnout this evening. I thank you all for being here. It's humbling. There's a hand raised. Let me jump on it right now real quick before we get started. Oh, no, it's down again. Okay, probably hit it by accident. But I can come back to Matthew if need be. So just please let me know. For those of you that have never heard me do a webinar before, I always like to start off with a story to really capture the theme of what's going on. And usually my stories are from years past. I have one where I was a little 5-year-old, and from a social skills standpoint, I share that one every now and again. If you haven't heard it, you will hear me say it someday. But not this story, not this one. This is a story that I'm going to share of the past 2 weeks of being a father of 4 kids and as a psychologist who sees many children and adolescents. Virtually 100% of the kids I see at the Social Skills Center are either doing part-time or full-time distance learning. And the vast majority of the kids that I see in the practice are public school kids. And I'm not sure what neck of the woods you guys are from, but here in Northern Virginia, right, almost all the public schools are doing 100% of the distance learning. So most of the kids I see, they're spending their days staring at a computer, much like we are now, hour after hour after hour. And let me tell you, this is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing the days are long. Getting that one a lot. I'm getting it's so boring. Over long days, boring days. And what's interesting, more like ironic, is that the same kids that were giving their parents fits a year ago about going to school, I don't want to go, I need a mental health day. These are the very kids that are saying, get me back there, get me back. I can't take this distance learning anymore. Please just get me back to school. And I get that it's hard. It's unbelievably hard. Seriously, who would have believed? I think my last day in the office, I'm in my home right now. I'm still in the office in my house, which is where I've been since I think it was March 12th or 13th, whenever the distance learning started. I never thought it would have been 6+ months of this. And it just seems to be continuing. And I'm, like I said, I'm a parent. I have 4 teens. My youngest is 8th grade. I have 3 in high school. So I live the distance learning thing, but I have to be real. When you have older kids that are pretty good at dealing with the frustrations of the distance learning, for the most part, they function independently. It's like, hey, you know what time your classes are, get up and make sure you attend. So when you have teenagers, and it's not true for all parents of teens, or not true for all teens, but a lot of them they can function independently. They don't need the constant supervision. I'm finding that the issue with the teenagers are, I don't know if you guys have these breakout sessions. If you're not familiar with it, my 8th grader and then the high schoolers, they all have it, where they'll be in a class and the teacher will have the students break up into small groups of maybe like 4. But when you get broken up, and the assignment is talk about whatever it is that you're learning that day. And these 4 students have to independently discuss whatever that topic is. And my kids are saying they get in there and be like, okay, who wants to go first? Crickets. Total silence. No one says anything. And then so they'll go and they'll like, here are my thoughts on whatever the topic is. Who wants to go next? and then more crickets. So that's the struggle that my kids have been going through with this, and no one is talking during the breakout sessions, but that, that's a manageable issue. The real problem that I'm hearing from all the younger kids that I see, and mostly from the parents, are the challenges that, for example, if you're a parent and you have to help your child with distance learning, you have like a kindergarten or a first grader or a second grader, and you're trying to work from home and supervise your child, how challenging is that then? I mean, how challenging is it for them? I couldn't imagine being a single parent and trying to do that, or even when both parents working at home. It's you're trying to answer a phone call or attend a meeting, trying to get your kid to be quiet and trying to keep them focused on whatever that lesson is. Then you have to deal with lunch and this and that. It's trying to keep the kids focused. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, and that really is what today is all about. For those of you that don't know me, let me introduce myself really quickly. I'm Dr. Christopher Haley. I own 2 different private practices. One of them is called the Social Skills Center, which is I'm here on behalf of that practice today. I've always been a huge believer that social skills are essential. I call them essential life skills, and that it's social skills that always correlate highest with success in one's life. And I say this again and again, even more so than school grades. Meaning, if you are a great communicator, if you're an exceptional listener, which is a very important social skill, if you're able to network and connect with people in life, I believe you're going places. Whether you're a graduate of high school or a graduate of Harvard, if you possess these essential social skills, I believe you're going to be successful. So, my story in a nutshell is for the last 20 years, I've taught these social skills to children, adolescents, and adults. I've created a one-of-a-kind treatment approach. You can learn more about me online. And I do this with individual appointments or individual sessions, and also in a group format. I facilitate 12 social skills groups every single week for young kids all the way up through adults. And I'm excited about it. It's to me, it's really, really enriching the community with what I deem are essential life skills. And I'm super excited, before we get into the webinar, to announce that we've expanded our services to all of Virginia. So if you live in Virginia, we can now help. All you need is a computer or any sort of device and an internet connection, and we can teach you these essential life skills through telehealth. And in addition to that, if you're in Virginia, we're one of the few practices that still accepts insurance. So we take some insurance, and I should have Susan jump in and she can explain that, but you can always call and speak with her. So we do take some health insurance that cover a portion of our services. Today, let's jump right in. Today is going to be about sharing these, I have some quick tips, I call them, with you to survive and I'll take it the next step and hopefully thrive in the midst of education during COVID. It's been a challenge for so many people. As always, some of my recommendations will be different than what you typically hear. I'm an outside the box thinker. And when it comes to the webinars, I'm going to try to provide you with some ideas and some tips that you probably have not heard of before, because I know with certainty a one-size-fits-all approach, it doesn't work. And kids are unique and kids are different, and you have to tailor make this distance learning approach for your particular child and your particular situation. Let me flip on to the next slide. Okay. Now, recommendation number one, quick tip number one, this is a standard recommendation, and you're going to get this from everybody. And really, out of the different tips I'm going to talk about today, this is essential. This is essential. You're going to hear about it again and again. Routine and schedule for your kids, it's paramount. It is the key to being successful. And for us here in Northern Virginia, I'm in Fairfax County. We started school 2 weeks ago. So if you've been, and probably in your situation, you've been in school for at least 2 weeks with the distance learning. If you haven't established a routine yet, you want to work on that and make that happen. If this is the 3rd week, you want to make that routine pretty ingrained by now. We need, I call it a new normal. A new normal needs to be established where there is routine and consistency, and obviously can be very different than the summertime behaviors. I know a lot of kids, including the four in my house, were allowed more electronic time and a little bit more freedom and flexibility than we would normally have over the summer, because of social distancing and not being able to stay connected. So now we should be having a new normal and a new routine. And that routine, it's very dependent on the child. What you don't want is, because some of the kids and some of the parents are reporting this, it's almost like a sick day from last year, where there isn't that routine and there isn't that 9 o'clock this needs to be happening, 10 o'clock this needs to be happening, and it's a little bit more of a free-for-all, loosey-goosey approach, and we don't want that. We don't want to treat this like it's a sick day. We want to treat it like it's a regular and consistent schedule. This always starts with the night before. It starts with a regular and consistent bedtime. I know you guys know that, and I'm sure are working with your kids on trying to establish that. And with this schedule, although these schedules are different depending on the age and the teacher or whatever, I always recommend a visual schedule. And the reason I do this, I know this because it works for a lot of kids and it works for me. When I wake up in the morning, I come and I sit at my desk here in my home office. I pull up my Google Calendar and it color codes everything, so I know exactly what my day is going to be like. Sometimes you got to be flexible. It doesn't quite go that way, but oftentimes it does. And having that list and having that schedule, paramount, really, really important. Include in the schedule, please make sure you include breaks. Include the visual breaks, and I would color code them a special or a unique color so that your child can see, oh, okay, yeah, I have to focus for 45 minutes for that class, but then I get this break. And then I have that class, but then I have that break. That really, really helps. Other recommendations that relate to the routine and the schedule is, and I'm sure you're hearing these things from other professionals or from news or from other websites and whatnot. During the break time, I highly, highly discourage screen time during that, because these kids are getting overwhelmed with screen time. Snacks are good, reading's good, any sort of outside activities, and we'll talk more about that. Those are the good things. Too much screen time is bad on the eyes, on the brain that's still forming. And how many times have you had a struggle with trying to get the child off the device and get them back to the distance learning? So I'm highly recommending to all my parents, don't allow the screen time in between. However, obviously a little bit of screen time after school hours is, to me, is fine. And when you're making your schedule and making your routine, please keep in mind that middle schoolers and high schoolers, they may do better with afternoon study time or evening study time if there's homework. That with the distance learning, it doesn't necessarily have to be the learning piece, then the homework piece, then they can do whatever they want. They may be better off, some high schoolers might be better off with taking a large break in the afternoon and then finishing up their stuff later at night. But once you decide and once you find out what works, stick with it and run with it. That's the whole purpose of that routine. So it's ingrained in their brain. This is what my day is going to be like. Find out what works. A lot of it is trial and error. A lot of it is child dependent. Find out what works for your kid and then stick with it again and again. Now, as far as the workspace goes, I kind of like this slide because the younger kids with these homemade these cubbies, if you will, the little cubicles, those are really, really effective. Many people, I'm going to say most people, including me, function and focus best in one specific location. This since March has been my workspace. I see all my clients here. I had an 11-hour day today where I saw 11 clients in a row. That's just, I work best in one space where when I come in my office, my mindset turns into my clients and the many social skills groups that I do. And most people function better that way. Now, you can have your child make a homemade cubicle like this. I really like this one. Aubrey's got her name there. She has the calendar and the schedule up, which I really like. And it's a nice way to minimize distractions. I think most kids are going to function in this learning environment best with something like that. However, again, I see many kids a week. I have one client, a high schooler, who has his laptop, he has his school laptop, and he prefers to go to a different space for each class. So each class has a specific location. One class he'll take in the kitchen, one class will be up in his bedroom, one class will be in the basement. And my recommendation to him is whatever, if algebra is in the kitchen, always do algebra in the kitchen. If biology is in the basement, then make that the place for biology. But he likes moving around and having a different environment and a different feel. He says that helps him focus and pay attention. I have another client who really prefers working in, his dad works from home, so he works in the office with his dad, which I thought was pretty interesting. Apparently the dad has more quiet work where he's not on the phone or talking a lot. And then they said the teenager, likes to be by him because dad helps him stay focused. So that works for them. The bottom line is that you figure out what works for you and you stick with it, trial and error, mix it up. Most kids are going to have a workspace that is in one specific place, in a one distraction-free place. It could be a bedroom. It could be in a dining room. I know, and some people prefer to have other kids around. If there's other kids in the house, other people don't. But you have to mix it up. There's no one size fits all. There's no one way of doing things that's going to be best for all kids. Mix it up. You've probably already done that over the last 2 weeks. Find out what works and stick with it when it comes to the workspace. Here's a unique one that you're probably not hearing, but actively engage in class. And here's where I'm going with this. I'd mentioned my kids and their experience with getting crickets in these breakout sessions. From a social skills standpoint, I see many clients that are shy. I see kids that are really, really passive. I see many socially anxious kids, kids that normally would be in a classroom, maybe hanging out in the back, not really raising their hand, just more shy kids. What a great opportunity, because of distance learning, what a great opportunity to practice these essential social skills for most kids. I know that the camera typically isn't on them, and that it's a much less stressful situation than having to raise your hand in class for a lot of the kids. So this is, to be honest, this is exactly what we do at the Social Skills Center. It's a less anxiety provoking way for helping a socially anxious or a passive or a timid child engage with others. And it's a great opportunity to practice communication skills because your face isn't on there. They'll hear your voice. It's a great opportunity to practice leadership skills. They can, I've recommended to some kids that there's a chat feature with the distance learning that a lot of the kids have is if you don't feel comfortable jumping in, for example, into one of those breakout sessions, start with the chat. Just go in with the chat and type something or type a question. And you as a parent, you want to find out when your child is engaging in these different situations and obviously reward them with praise. Have a tangible reinforcer. Say, hey, man, I'm really proud of you for engaging or for chiming in or for sharing information in the breakout session. And good for you. Let's keep that up. So I've found that there are some positives to the distance learning. This is a big one. Great opportunity to help socially anxious kids. But even if you have a child who's outgoing, obviously get them to engage, get them to stay active. It's going to help you mentally stay focused. If there's a class participation grade, it will help you with that. But again, it's a wonderful time to keep kids engaged and interacting with their peers. It's exactly what we're looking for. I love the face on this kid. That is one funny slide. Obviously, we're going to minimize distractions. We want to treat this like it's a regular school day in school. But what's most interesting, again, and this is probably something unique that you're not, you might not be aware of or have not heard. Back when I was a kid, 40 years ago, the distractions used to be, oh, wait, what's outside? You know, or maybe there'd be a sibling making a face. You know what the biggest distraction is right now for these kids? It's not what's going outside, and it's not a silly little brother making a face. The biggest distraction that these kids face is the device right in front of them. The computer that I'm on right now, I am one click away. I'm a big sports fan. I'm one click away from watching the pregame show for Monday Night Football. One click, and then I could have it on. And that's the biggest distraction. You know, Minecraft, Roblox is potentially one click away for the kids. And if there's not supervision going on, how tempting is it for a kid to be listening to the footsteps of the parent that's coming, and they're on they're paying attention to school. The parent walks away, they click on, they do their gaming, they click right back when the parent comes back. That's the biggest distraction that the kids are facing. Since I started our telehealth program back in March, all the 12 groups that I mentioned earlier, they're all facilitated via telehealth. And I can see, because I insist that all the cameras be on. It's a social skills group. We're connecting, we're talking and engaging with each other. But because I see all their little faces, I call it the wandering eyes. You can tell when you're looking at all the different faces on the computer. You can tell when someone has these wandering eyes where they're not looking at the screen in one spot, but it's kind of like, I don't know if you guys can see me. It's like the eyes move like this. So clearly something more is going on than just participation in the group. So I'm on those kids. I'm like, hey, got a case of the wandering eyes. Please click off what you're doing and come back and focus and pay attention. That is really, really tough because these games they make them this way to draw these kids in. And so because most parents limit it, these kids are looking for every opportunity. So that's the biggest distraction. Certainly you want to be in a room where like visual distractions like outside, or if there's silly siblings like this little guy, we want to minimize that. But it's the distraction right in front of you. That's going to be the big thing that we're going to have to watch for. If you're able to block Minecraft on the computer, if you're able to block Roblox or whatever, Fortnite, whatever game your child prefers, if you're able to block it, I would recommend that you do that. I would highly recommend it. For teenagers, you also want to decide what to do with the cell phone. The cell phone is so tempting for a lot of these kids. You want to decide if you're going to let them have it, if they're allowed. You're going to find that the kids are going to do a lot of texting. Again, for teenagers, I live this. There's texting going on in the middle of the classes. So you may be better off to take the cell phones and put them away in a place until after school. I have found this too. In one of my groups, I have a client who's about 15, 16 years old. He really enjoys movement. He focuses best with movement. He's Asperger's and a little bit anxious. So in our group, he will actually have his phone, which he participates. He does the telehealth on his phone, and he walks the room. And that helps him focus and maintain connection with the other group members. His school day is very similar, where he will have the phone, but he will walk and he will pace. And that's what's needed for him. All kids are different. You want to experiment, find out what works. Regardless of the age of your child, I would recommend popping in every now and again just to see what's going on. I've heard a couple cases of kids being up in the bedroom, supposed to be on a class, and during a break they take a nap and never wake up for the next class. So do pop in just to make sure that they're doing what they need to be doing and are staying off some of the gaming sites. A couple more. I have found over the last 2 weeks, this one's taking PE and recess seriously. A lot of people are not doing that, and I think that that's going to turn into problems down the road. It is a proven fact that movement helps with learning. I just mentioned my client where movement helps him focus, but moving helps with learning. Neurologists have proven this. It helps the brain function better. It's a great way to let off any steam that's built up. It's a great way to take your focus and move it someplace else so you can get your mind off the screen and your mind off the academics. It's a great way to reduce mental stress, physical stress. It's just so many things. You can loosen up your muscles. Plus, it potentially gives mom and or dad a break. So if your school has worked in PE, and I hope they have, or if they've worked in recess, have some sort of physical activity set up. I know up here in Northern Virginia, it all of a sudden got really, really chilly. So we're nearing the time. I think actually fall starts tomorrow, I believe. I think we're nearing the time where it might be a little more challenging, where the cold weather is coming. So let's take advantage of these weeks and maybe the next month or two to get the kids outside and get them really physically active, because that's going to go a long way with the learning process. Excuse me. And finally, one more thing, and this is something that I know most parents are aware of. You want to be in very close contact with the teacher. And I'm assuming that most schools nowadays with technology give you as a parent an opportunity to view your child's progress, looking at their grades, to view their progress by logging in, by putting your username and password in, to find out exactly how they're doing, to find out how many assignments have not been handed in. That happens very, very frequently. So you want to know what's going on with your kid or kids. Be involved, get to know the teacher. It's early in the year, but get to know the teacher, send them emails, check in, find out what you can do in order to better this experience for your child. You have to stay on top of it, and especially during these extremely challenging times, know that teacher and have regular and consistent back and forth feedback, even if it's positive. It doesn't always have to be negative. It can be positive. My child really enjoyed this, or I was so excited to see that my kid got an A on blah, blah, blah. It's a great way to stay connected with your teacher. It's so important. So, I keep saying this just in conclusion. We are one day closer to the end of this pandemic. One day closer. I used to say there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I don't know. It's there somewhere. We're one day closer. We have to, as parents, because our kids model this and view this and see this, we have to keep our heads up. We have to maintain hope. We have to persevere. We have to be resilient during these times that I just turned 50 during. And never in my 50 years have I ever seen anything like this. I never thought that there would be anything like this. Back in March, I thought I'd be out of the office for a couple of weeks. Things would get better. We'd go right back and it'd be smooth sailing. And it's been anything but that. So I think the goal here from a parenting standpoint and from a psychology standpoint is let's make distance learning tolerable. I use this word again and again in my sessions over the past couple of weeks is what do we need to do for you as a child how do we make this tolerable? And the way we do this is you have to know your kid. You have to know what your strengths are, what areas they need to improve on, but let's make this a tolerable experience. You're going to do this with trial and error, focus on some of the things that I discussed and I brought up today, and just nothing ever works perfectly. You just find the things that do work. If it doesn't, if some of my recommendations are ineffective, dump them and let's move on to something else. That's really the most important thing. And finally, last but not least, you have to care for yourself. And I've been talking about the tough times that there's been for the kids, for the distance learning, for focusing on a computer. These are tough times for parents, especially, again, I said it earlier, I can't imagine being a single parent with little kids who's working at home, has a full-time job, trying to keep your kids focused. And it's just, it is, you know, my heart goes out for you. I wish you the best of luck with that. But my point is, you want to care for yourself. You want to try to find downtime yourself. And just as we want our kids to take breaks, it's important for parents to take breaks as well. So yeah, I'm thinking about you guys. I'm living it, not quite like some of the parents are with the younger kids. It's easier when you have the teens that are somewhat willing participants to do the best they can to succeed academically. A couple of things. I am more than happy to answer any questions you have. I'm going to get to other questions that you have right now, but if my email's on that last slide, it's Dr. Haley at socialskillscenter.com. It's a great way to get in touch with me. My phone number's there. Extension 1 is my confidential voicemail. As always, we appreciate referrals. And like I said, I'm excited because now we're accepting referrals from anyone, anywhere who resides in the state of Virginia. You can find us on Facebook, the Social Skills Center. If you search that, that is our business page. And I'm really looking for some help from some of you today. Our Facebook group is called Social Skills Circle. We are at I'm really excited about it. We're at 296 members. If just 4 of you go to Social Skills Circle and join our Facebook group, we will hit the 300 mark tonight. That would be so awesome. Totally would appreciate it. I believe now for future webinars, I should also say this. I believe I'm going to stick with the webinars on Mondays at 7, but just visit Social Skills Circle or the Facebook page for more up-to-date information on that. The turnout was nice tonight, so I think that's what I'm going to stick with, but I'm going to make that decision in coming days. Now, for the first time ever, I saved a few minutes for questions I didn't run over. So if you have a question, all you have to do is raise your hand. I'll see a blue hand, and you can talk and share your question with everybody. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, you can always type in a question into the chat. And if neither of those options are good for you, email is the best way. I'm really good with getting back with people. So if there are any questions, please feel free to jump in now. And if not, that's okay too. Again, usually after the webinars, I'll get many people will email me with something like with a personal question. And if your situation is unique, if your situation is one that is unusual, then definitely feel free to email me. Anyone else? Anyone, period, I should say. All right, Matthew, let me hit your hand. I think I can do this. All right, Matthew, you should be allowed, if you turn your mic on, there you go. You should be allowed to jump in.
So I'm in New York City, and we just started learning today. So today is the first day.
Excellent.
Yeah, so we just started today, but I think I'm looking 2-3 weeks down the line.
Yes.
And my biggest concern. Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say real quick, how did your day go today? I didn't mean to interrupt you. How did the day go?
It was okay. I mean, it could have been better. It could have been worse. But I guess my biggest concern, and I think you talked about it in terms of screen time. My daughter is 11, and YouTube and phones and chats and this and that. And we're really trying to figure out ways to make that a no-no during the school day.
Yes.
And it's really a challenge because you can't see your friends, so you don't want to feel like you're absent from the world. So you want to, you don't want to miss anything.
Yes.
You don't want to miss the text. You don't want to miss a chat. You don't want to miss this. You don't want to miss that.
Yep.
So I guess my real question is there really a way that you can keep a little bit of screen time during break times? Like when class is going on, no, absolutely not. But,
yes.
My daughter's going to have intermittent breaks during the day, and that's all she wants to do.
Yeah.
So like today she had a couple of breaks, and I said, okay, you need to do this. You can't watch YouTube during this time because you have to read a book. Well, I don't want to. I want to see all my friends, and I wanted this, and I wanted that.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets really stressful and really heated really quick.
Yep.
So how are you going to, I mean, I know you want to set a schedule and I know you want a regiment.
Yep.
But I 11-year-old, and listen, I don't want to give any parents I don't want to get any, grief from any parents. I feel like 11-year-old girls are a little bit more difficult than 11-year-old boys, just my personal opinion.
Uh-huh.
So I think there's just an extra added stressor there. So
first of all, I'm going to jump in and say that I have two girls and two boys, and I couldn't agree with you more on that, by the way. Just because I've lived it. But I think your situation, Matthew, excuse me, allergies today. I think your situation, I want to go back to the whole trial and error thing. There are some 11-year-olds that are out there that can actually do okay with a little bit of connecting with peers in the middle of the school day. However, I like the fact that you're not going to allow it all the time, because she, like most kids, would probably be on there all the time. I would have it written in the schedule. These are the times that it's allowed for this, specifically this amount of time. So be very specific with it for this amount of time, and we're going to try it, and we're going to see how it goes. And if you can handle it, and if you do well, and if it's time to stop it, if you willingly hand it over, it won't be a problem. Yeah. My only concern is just from like the brain development, stuff like that. You hear the neurologists and the neuropsychologists be the ones that are really concerned with that. But I think a little bit to stay connected. See, I'm the social guy. I'm into the social skills and the connecting with peers. And if that's important to her to connect with her peers midday, then so be it. Yeah, I would be flexible with that. I would try it. I'd give her an opportunity to prove herself. And if she's successful, I would say, good for you. I'm really proud of you. We're gonna stick with this. So yeah, I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Yeah. I would be 100% lying, Matthew, if I told you that none of my 4 kids get on electronics during break time. I try to minimize it. But again, my kids are 16, 14, and 13. So they're a little bit more independent and a little bit more. I know that they're because they're pretty studious. They're doing the right thing. So my situation's a little bit different with that. Anything else, Matthew?
No, I don't think I have anything else.
Yeah, I didn't know New York was starting today, but best of luck. If you have questions, shoot me an email, okay?
Well, Dr. Haley, I mean, New York started today, but schools aren't opening for middle schoolers for blended until October the 1st.
October 1st. What part of New York are you in?
I'm in the city. I'm in Manhattan.
In Manhattan. Okay. Yeah. Definitely best of luck, man.
Thank you.
They've had a tough time in the city, so I'm glad things are hopefully turning around.
Yep. Thanks, Doctor.
Yeah. Thank you for participating, Matthew. Appreciate it.
No worries.
All right. Yep. Any other questions from any of the other participants? Looks like a few people have already left. Okay. Anyone else? All right. Again, I thank you guys so much for being here. We have a whole bunch of not a whole bunch, about 10 or so webinars are up on my Social Skills Center website. So feel free to look back at some of the past ones if there might be some beneficial stuff for you there. There's stuff for adults, stuff for kids and things like that. Oh, got another question. Cynthia, what? Oh, no. Okay. Hey, Cynthia, I just got a message that came up. It says, allowing you to talk is not available because you're using an older version of Zoom and you need to, I need to promote you to a panelist to talk. Okay. Let me promote you to a panelist. Let's see if that works. Okay. So I'm going to ask you to unmute. Hey, there we go. I did it. I can't believe it. I'm not the most technologically advanced. I can't believe I made that happen in 2 seconds.
Well, thank you. I'm actually my daughter. We're in Loudoun County.
Yes.
And so we've been in school for 2 weeks now.
Yep.
What I'm having a problem with, my daughter's ADHD, slightly ASD as well. So we're having some interesting issues now that she's got the schedule thing going. We've got all that worked out. But the problem is that because I'm in the house, there's the constant, gotta come to mom to try and, she just answered something to the teacher, so therefore she's got to come tell me. She's just done that.
Okay. Yeah.
Everything is I cannot get up and do anything myself because
Yes.
the child is constantly, if I get up and go to another room, that's when she comes over because, well, I'm no longer sitting in the room next to her.
Yep. For her, I'll tell you what I would do. I'd have a behavior plan. I'd have a behavior plan in place that rewards her for decreased frequency of contacting you. And how old is she again, Cynthia?
9.
She's 9. What I would do is I would have some sort of reward system in place. I'd sit her down and explain to her. It's like, hey, thank you so much for participating in class. That's fantastic. But you can be doing this stuff on your own. So I'm going to give you, and you can even put this into the schedule, into the visual schedule. These are the times that I'll be available for, barring an emergency. Obviously, an emergency is different, but these are the times that you can come to me. I'm really proud that you do come to me and share this stuff. However, I want to see you become a little bit more independent, and you don't have to share this stuff with me. And I'd have some tangible reward or reinforcer set up, or she's a little old for like stickers and stuff like that. Some tangible reward or reinforcer that would catch her doing the right thing, and you reward her for it. Get her on board with the plan and let her know why.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Kids like her that I know respond really well to stuff like that. What they don't respond to is a lot of parents, unfortunately, Cynthia, will do the opposite and start yelling or not be as nice about it. You got to go positive with the kids.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's been tough because I'm like, okay, go back to class.
Go ahead, come back. Yep. Yeah, and let her know. Let her know. I appreciate having contact with you in the middle of the day. That's really cool. That's fine. That's dandy. But it doesn't have to be every single time. So I'm going to give you a reward. Tell me what you want, okay? And if it's reasonable, say every time maybe 4 times. If you can come out 4 different times throughout the school day, or 8, or whatever you feel is reasonable. Not 50.
Right. Well, one of my other problems is that right now her only real she tends to fixate on certain things, and right now the things she's fixated on is playing Roblox.
Yeah. Yes, they are.
Yes.
I get upset because they have psychologists like me, I'm embarrassed to say, that work for Roblox, they work for Minecraft, and they participate in what do we need to do in order to suck the kids? Fortnite has a team of psychologists. What do we need to do to suck the kids? What a shame. What a shame. Yeah, it's not right, but that's just, it's the way it is. We're not going to change that.
Okay.
All right. Stay warm tonight, Cynthia. It's going to get chilly out there.
Oh, yes. It's already been. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Take care.
Any other questions, guys? All right. We are right at that time where I promised we were going to keep it to 45 minutes. All right. Again, thank you all so much. I very much appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you guys again in the near future. All right. Yep. And stay in touch with me. You have my emails. Have a wonderful rest of the week. Take care.